All right, 111. I'm going to go ahead and finish talking about China at this particular point. I was talking about the Qin dynasty, about the Qin emperor. He takes the title Shi Huangdi. He creates kind of the first unified China. We know that he creates this strong legal system. He creates an administrative system. He crushes the people that would rise up against him. We know he increases trade. That he increases the travel system. That he's a bit paranoid and creates a variety of different castles to stay in. What I thought was interesting in his seeking for immortality, what he's going to do is he's also going to have them build him a secret tomb. And the secret tomb is supposed to replicate the outside world. It's supposed to replicate heaven in such a way that it's supposed to be as big as the inside of a hollowed out mountain, and that the tomb is guided on four sides by terracotta armies. And they've located some of the armies, but the terracotta armies are supposed to picture his imperial guard, and no two faces on any of the terracotta statues are supposed to be the same. But what's supposed to happen is if somebody breaks the seal on the tomb, the terracotta armies are supposed to come to life to defend the emperor in the afterlife. It's interesting because it talks about artwork, it talks about concepts, it talks about religion, and all these things that happen. He makes some good changes, but he also makes some terrible changes in squashing the people. So when he dies and his son can't rule, there's going to be competition to replace his rule. Who's going to win is a gentleman named Liu Bang. Okay, and Liu Bang is interesting because he was a peasant, and he's going to rise above that station thanks to some of that meritocracy from the Qin dynasty. And what will happen is he will eventually lead the forces and conquer and found what becomes the Han dynasty, Han. And the Han dynasty is one of the more famous dynasties when it comes to China. It is the dynasty when people think of ancient China they normally think of. Because it is about the artwork, it is about the culture, it is about the literature, it's about the expanded trade, it's about some of the increase in technology. What they're going to do is they're going to take the essence of what Qin has created and said, okay, well, this is nice, but we can't govern this way. And what I thought was interesting is they're automatically going to shelf his ideas on administration and say, okay, what we're going to do is not run this way. I'm going to go ahead and gift this portion and gift this portion and gift this portion to people that supported me, kind of, like the system of government we have right now. They're going to run these territories, and he discovers pretty quickly, Liu Bang, that he can't work that way, and they can't work that way, that it's got to be a central administration. And so what they're going to do is they're going to combine the administrative policies, some of the legalist policies, with some tempering on the punishments, with the reintroduction of Confucius ideals. What he's going to do is be smart enough to know that educated scholars, these gentlemen that have studied the Confucian ideals, that believe in some of those pretexts, are going to be able to more effectively run the country. And so what he does is he incorporates and creates a Confucian school. They're going to study the Confucian text, they're going to study the Confucian classics, and they're going to be given a Confucian education. And it starts as a small university, but he's going to choose from these people to help to staff his bureaucracy. And eventually what's going to evolve, we start with, I think 60 or so students, and by the time we end up with the Han finishing up, there's 3,000 students in this university. It's going to grow, and the idea is it's going to be training for governmental bureaucratic positions. And the idea is that these enlightened scholars are going to be able to run the country more effectively. It works. It creates some change. It creates a system of roads. It expands the empire to the west. One of the things that they do is expanding the empire. What I thought was interesting about the Qin and about the Han is the Han and expanding the empire are going to run into the Xiongnu. The Xiongnu are what we think of as the Huns. We think of them as the Mongols, and so they're responsible for building that Great Wall. except they don't build the Great Wall. They're going to take and knit together a series of existing walls, right? Because different kings have been building them for a while, trying to keep the Mongols out. So they're going to go ahead and combine these walls together as a fortification to keep them north of the wall, and then as they expand the empire, they're going to kind of cut them off in the west. The Han is the rebirth of Confucian ideology. It's the birth of this administrative government. It's the expansion of trade. It is the introduction of the Silk Road. The Silk Road is going to reach all the way across China, across Asia, into Europe. Eventually, they're going to be trading with a little place called Rome. All right, that's how far this Han Empire influence is going to trade. They're also going to be ocean going, and that they're going to establish some trade routes into the Middle East and towards the edge of Africa. So there's a lot of influence. We see the rise of artwork. We see the rise of literature. We see the rise of quite a few things. That this is the high point for this time period, because they're going to take some of the elements that were good about the Qin and build on those, and they're going to make some changes, and that works relatively well. They're going to expand and expanding. They're going to expand the technology. They're going to expand all this, and it's going to be a flowering, but eventually what will happen is they're going to run into some problems. One of the problems they run into is they want people that are dedicated to learning. They want people that are dedicated to the government, people dedicated to China and not to family alliances. And so what happens is many of the scholars who get involved with this and they're put in governmental positions have to be eunuchs. And if you're not familiar with a eunuch, it is E-U-N-U-C-I-H, eunuch. And the idea is it is a castrated male. And the idea is a castrated male isn't going to worry about his family, isn't going to worry about his progeny, isn't going to worry about, taking care of his son and other family. He's going to be fully dedicated to the government and to the king and the emperor. The problem is that as you get more and more eunuchs together are going to unite and take power and to claim power in such a way that they become their own force to deal with. And so we start to look at a Han decline, and that Han decline is going to be a slow descent as it goes slowly down the rabbit hole at that particular point. But what's important is that this is the height for that time period of what we think of as China and the basis for a modern China. They're known for their architecture, they're known for their artwork, they're known for their statuary, they're known for their metalwork. And so there's a lot of archaeological finds. There's a lot of books to find. There's a lot of historical evidence, because they're also responsible for writing one of the first accepted histories. They're going to write the history of the Han during the Han period. It's going to be accepted by the following group. They're also going to write the history of the Qin dynasty, and it's going to be acceptable from there, because what's going to happen is they're not going to write a slanted history. They're going to write a truthful history, warts and all, and that's going to be laid down after that. This is the time period that's going to interact with the Roman Empire. Okay, and so I want you to kind of plug that in for the time period that this group of China is acting with that group of Rome, who's going to be acting with that Cleopatra version of Egypt as we come along. And so there's a lot of time periods to plug in. All right, that's the Han Dynasty Light version. I'll let you go ahead and read the rest of that, and we'll pick up on the very next unit with something new. Take care.